Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Knowledge Doctor. So, today we are diving deep into one of the most exciting areas of AI, retrieval augmented generations, also called the RAG. So, you might have heard of RAG being used in chatbot, the research tool, and even the coding assistant. But did you know there are actually 16 types of RAG? And in this video, we are going to break down this. So without wasting your time, let us start our tutorial right now. Before we get to the types, first see what is actually RAG. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generations. So it is a technique where an AI model retrieves relevant information from external data sources and then use that to generate some accurate, grounded response. So think of it as giving your AI a memory or a library it can read before it can speak. This is called a RAG. Now let's see our 16 types of RAG. So the very first RAG is standard RAG. So this is the original form of RAG proposed by the Facebook AI. It combined two main concepts, or you can say components. First one is called the retriever, second one is called the generator, like the transformers. So a retriever that fetches some relevant documents from the vector source, and generator like a transformer that create a natural language response using the informations. There are two versions. One is RAG sequence, another one is called the RAG tokens. So RAG sequence is nothing but retrieves once for the entire sequence, and RAG token is retriever per tokens. So more accurate, but having some speed issue, like slower. Examples: a simple chatbot is basically answering some factual questions like who is the CEO of OpenAI. So tools like Hugging Face Transformer, the Facebook RAG, and the line chains you can use here to these tools to to creating here an standard RAG. Now let's see the number two. That's called the agentic RAG. So here the RAG system is behave like an autonomous AI agents. So it does not just retrieve and response, it can decide what to search, see what to search, how to retrieve, and how to use the tools like API or the calculators. So you can creating here some kind of predefined functions, or you can also calling the API to use it. That how can you basically use it? That's called the agentic RAG. So let's see the example. A researcher assistant that can search academic papers, runs the code snippet, and summarize the result for you automatically. This is called the agentic RAG. So tools like the LangChain agents, the OpenAI, the GPT-4 with some functions calling like the API callings, or the creating here some kind of calculators, and the semantic kernel. Those are the tools used in order to creating here the agentic RAG. Now number three, it's called the graph RAG. So it basically using here knowledge graph instead of the flat text database, because you see that in the agentic RAG and the standard RAG, it basically using here some of the flat kind of text in the database. But in here, information is represented as a node or the concepts, and edges is basically the relationship. That's mean same thing in the form of DSA. So you have a node and you have the edges. So this is called the node and this is called the edges. So where node is represented as a concepts and edge is basically a relationship. So AI can reason relationally. So examples, a medical AI that can use graph for symptom, the disease, the treatment to reasons about a diagnosis. Okay. So let's say this is nothing but a medical AI chatbot graph. So here you have some symptom, and based on the symptom, which kind of disease it can predict, or based on that disease, which kind of treatment you need to provide them. Okay, or to provide the patients. This is how the graph RAG is actually work. So Neo4j, Apache Jena, and the Stardog is the tools of the graph RAGs. Okay. Now let's see number four. That's called the modular RAG. So RAG is broken into some independent modules. The important one, independent module like retrieval, the reasoning, and the generations that can be developed, optimized, and updated it separately. You can separately update it. Okay. Examples. So a corporate AI instance where one team maintains the retrieval index, another team handle the reasonings, logics, and another is handle the fine tuning the generators. It's mean that you have the three types of systems or three types of agents which can actually divide the tasks independently and do it separately, like microservice architectures, Apache, Kafka. Okay, those are the tools for the modular RAG actually. Okay, now let's see the number five. So number five is called a memory augmented RAG. So memory augmented is mean a long-term memory. Okay, see long-term memory to RAG. It means that just giving some kind of memories to the RAG systems. The system can remember the fast interactions or the user specific informations to improve his personalizations. So see, those are the rack questions it may ask you in the interview. Okay, so it's better you can have a look. So a personal AI that remembers your preferences, the projects, and the fast chat like the chat GPT with memory features. So you can say Redis, the Pinecone, the Milbees, and the Files. Those are nothing but the backdoor stored database. Okay, those are the backdoor stored database. So here we actually store here all of our information. That's called the memory augmented RAG. Now, number six, it's called the multi-model RAG. So, multi-model RAG is nothing but a system where we can retrieve and generate some informations across here some multiple data types like text, the images, the videos, the audios, and etc. Multiple number of data we can use that. So, an AI that can take any pictures and captions and retrieving some related documents and generating a video summary. Okay, it's mean that see it will taking an image and also a captions, it retrieving some related documents, see three things, and also it generating here a video summary. Okay, like OpenAI Clip, the TensorFlow Hub, the multi-modal transformer. Those are the tools for the multi-modal RAG. Now, seventh one is called the federated RAG. So work on decentralized data source. The most important decentralized data sources. So it's retrieving the information from the multiple locations without moving the data centrally. It will not moving the data. I mean, it will the actual data is constant, but the multiple it had the multiple locations without moving the data centrally. This is enhance the privacy and the security. It's called the federative learning. Okay, so a healthcare assistant that retrieve the patient information from the hospital database without violating the data privacy law. See, without violating the data privacy law. Okay, it's also called the NDA when you are joining any kind of company. So you have some kind of NDA papers you need to sign on here so that the data privacy is not violating. Okay, like TensorFlow federated, the P-Swift, and the federated learning library. Okay, this is also important one. The number eight is called a streaming rack. So retrieving data from some live stream, not an static database. See, retrieving data from the live stream, like live in YouTube, live in Facebook, like that. Okay, just take examples. So this enable the real-time question answering on analytics. Okay, I'm not talking about this kind of live actually. It's basically used in the case of the finance. Okay, so a financial AI that answer question like what is the latest trend in the Tesla stock. So Tesla stock is not data is right time in a live, so you can do some analysis on that using some live market data. So you can see Apache Kafka Stream, the Amazon Kinesis, and the Stack Streaming. That's the tool for creating the streaming rack. Okay. Now number six is called ODQR RAG, also called the Open Domain Question Answering RAG. So it is specialized for the open domain question and answers. It's basically answering from a broad, the unwanted set of document like the Wikipedia. Okay. So an AI that perplexity AI that can answer any questions using the web scale data. Okay. I hope so you know about the perplexity AI. It's very important use cases that is used in the case of research. So Elasticsearch, the haystack by DeepSet, Hugging Face transformers. Those are the tools. Okay. Now let's see the number 10. That's the contextual retrieval RAG. So retrieve information based on some conversational history and context and maintaining some session awareness. So let's say the customer support bot that remember your previous query about an order and follow up the contextually. It's mean that it will try to remember your previous query and try to order off and follow up if you are creating here any kind of customer support bot. Like dialect flow, you know that the RASA, important one, Microsoft bot framework. Those are the framework is important, dialect flow and the RASA. Now number 11. So 11 is called the knowledge and haze rack. So it's basically integrating some structured knowledge base like ontologies or databases with some retrievals. So it used the both in a structure and the structured knowledge for better factual grounding. So it have a structured data or it might have the structured data. So an educational tutor bot is combining the textbook context like text with a structured subject data like tables and the facts. Okay, like from the MySQL. Okay, it can add it here. Let's say the knowledge graph embeddings or the OpenAI API or the DBL. Okay, those are the tools for the knowledge and his rack. I also give it to the example so that you can also creating here some kind of system based on that. Okay. Now domain specific rack. So it's basically train and fine tune on a specific domain or industry. Let's say I have a data for industry. Let's say for my company. So this is nothing but an domain specific data. Let's say my company is working for, let's say, machines. Okay, let's say my company is selling some of the machine, let's say selling here, let's say AC, let's say air conditioners. So this is nothing but my specific data. Okay, this is the privacy data. So what I can do, I can creating and fine tune it for a specific domain and for my industry with some custom retrieval pipelines. So a legal AI assistant retrieving some case law. Okay, it's obviously the privacy, you should maintain the privacy here. Case law and the finance rack model, it's retrieving some market regulations. The finance reg, it might you comment might use it for your industry. The stock is the sale is up or fell is down. So let's say Watson Health, the Lax Predict, and the financial NLP tools. You can use that. Okay, like via finance. Now, let's see the hybrid RAG. It's basically combining the multiple retrieval method. Let's say, for example, it's combining the vector search, let's say semantic search, with keyword or the hybrid indexing. So it's a system that use both embedding and a stack keyword that matching for the better accuracy. It means that it will basically joining multiple number of features to the RAG and try to make it for once. Let's say Elasticsearch with the KNN plugin, the files is backtrace database, and hybrid retrieval system. That's for the rack. Now, see the self rack. So it's basically includes some self reflections that model evaluate its own output and refine it iteratively until it satisfied, like the reinforcement learning. Okay. So a content generation AI that check if the draft is accurate and rewrite it before the finalizations. So OpenAI GPT model with the fine-tuning human in the loop system. It's important thing, human in the loop system. So it's you can also read the paper for the DeepSeek R1. They also talk about it, human in the loop systems. Now the 15 numbers, that's called the HyDE RAG, also called the hypothetical document embeddings. So before retrieval, the model is imaging and hypothetical answer documents and embedded. So if I say in terms of DSA, so let's say I have an index number, let's say 0, let's say 1, let's say 2, let's say 3, let's say 4. Okay, now I'm going to searching here a value called 2. So I can easily found it. I can easily found it. Now let's say I need to check that the number is greater than or the, let's say, upper bound of the 4, because we read about the binary search already in our DSM multiverses. Upper bound of 4. So upper bound of 4 is nothing but the 5. Okay, 5. It means that 5 is right now in the hypothetical index. In the hypothetical index, it is not available. It's not available. So we cannot find it. It's called the hypothetical index. It can automatically taking this out. Same thing out here, it basically imagine a hypothetical answer documents that embed it. So this help the retriever a better match even if the original questions doesn't have the exact uh, the keyword overlaps. So this is a tool for the nice query like impact of AI or the Arctic biodiversity. So higher direct answer may not exist because you can see impact of AI and the Arctic biodiversity. Two are the different things. So custom transform implementations and the here stack pipeline is for the hypothetical document embeddings. Okay. Now let's see last one. That's called the recursive and the multi-step rack. That's my favorite one actually. So perform some multiple rounds of retrieval and generations. So each generation step can trigger a new retrieval. So this enable the deep reasoning and the multi-tran problem solving. Right now the model is coming, new model is coming. They actually try to using here this recursive formula thing. Okay. So a coding assistant that retrieve documents, generate code, test it, and retrieve fixed if error is specifically occurred. It can automate do it. Like LangChain chains and agents and DeepMind alpha code. Okay. So this is the most important one, the last, that's called recursive or the multi-step RAG. So that's it from my side. I hope you enjoy this full tutorial and make sure to subscribe to channels so that you notify when the new video is coming up. So hope so we will continue our the DSA multiverse series. Let's say the DSA multiverse series. So we already upload here maybe 2 videos. One is about the binary search and second one is for the lower bound and the upper bound. Okay. So our main motive is to solving some DS equations so that it can make you an good quality for programmers as well as a good quality for software engineers. Okay, that's our main motive. So you already also creating here some more projects in the field of data science and the machine learnings. So you can also follow this out. Now our main goal is to solving the problem in terms of DSA. If you know the DSA very well, so your thinking capability, everything should be changed. And even though you can apply for the Google, you can apply for the Facebook, you can apply for the Amazons, because the big tech company is searching for that how can you think, not how can you Google, right? Or how can you do some searches on the Google, right? So that's it from my side. Thank you and bye bye.